Thanks for joining us. WestJet flight attendants moved one step closer to the picket lines on Thursday. The Canadian Union of Public Employees has issued a 72-hour strike notice, which WestJet responded to with a 72-hour lockout notice. While serving notice does not commit the union to a strike, job action could begin as soon as Sunday at 12:01 a.m. Mountain Time if the two sides don't reach a deal. The union has said key issues include unpaid work for tasks such as ground duties, while WestJet has said all duties are compensated through a credit hour system rather than an hourly rate. Right now, WestJet says passengers on flights scheduled between July 30th and August 4th can make a one-time change or cancel with no fee. The two sides have already agreed to a wind-down agreement that could see some flight cancellations as early as Friday. A memorial has been erected in a Calgary park in honor of an 11-year-old autistic boy named Parker. On Wednesday, almost 2 weeks after his disappearance, Calgary police announced they had found the body of a small boy believed to be Parker in a drainage pipe east of Deerfoot Trail. Police believe that he wandered into a culvert and then into a maze of underground drainage pipes. The cause of death has not been released. Today, a memorial popped up on a bridge in a nearby Lacocque Park. Many Calgarians have journeyed to the north end of the park to hug, cry, and honor Parker's memory. One message read, "Fly high, sweet boy, dance to your Disney tunes, laugh and know you are loved." Another message read, "Parker, you are Calgary's boy now." In other news, a 2021 federal ethics report on former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's involvement in decisions about We Charity is once again up for discussion. The Supreme Court of Canada says watchdog group Democracy Watch can pursue a court challenge of then federal ethics commissioner Mario Dionne's conclusion that Trudeau did not breach the Conflict of Interest Act when he participated in decisions concerning We Charity. Trudeau approved the We Charity grant program despite his then-wife Sophie Grégoire Trudeau volunteering with the organization. After the Court of Appeal dismissed Democracy Watch's application, Canada's top court has now found political oversight of the commissioner was not an adequate alternative to the full judicial review. This one sounds like it's straight out of a Dateline or 2020 episode. A 43-year-old Hamilton, Ontario man has been charged with first-degree murder in a case dating back to 2 decades ago. Pierre O'Connor, pictured on the right, has been charged in connection with the murder of 21-year-old Patrick Santos, pictured on the left. Santos's body was found at a home in a Scarborough area in September of 2006. His hands and feet were bound and tape was wrapped around his head. The cause of death was asphyxiation. Investigators turned to genetic genealogy in 2020, identified a person of interest last year, and collected their DNA to confirm a match with the DNA from the scene. Police believe more than one person may have been involved in Santos's death and are asking anyone with information to come forward. Santos's killing was Toronto's 49th homicide of 2006. Some good news on the wildfire front in Ontario. Officials say more than 80 wildfires were extinguished in the past 2 weeks, though 159 are still burning and 30 remain out of control. More than 150 provincial fire crews are working to suppress the fires. An update from the province today says cooler, rainy weather and more than 100 firefighters who arrived in Mexico are helping those efforts. And Mexican firefighters will also be helping battle wildfires in British Columbia. Over 200 firefighters from Mexico will be heading to BC next month. The BC Wildfire Service says it's grateful the highly trained firefighters will help as they continue to respond to blazes across the province. The service says a team of 112 wildfire personnel is set to arrive on August 3rd, and 102 more will follow on August 6th. Around 50 of 130 wildfires burning in British Columbia are out of control, with more heat coming. Hot, dry weather here in southern Alberta has led to more fire restrictions. With no rain in the forecast and daytime temperatures hovering in the 30s, the municipal district of Taber has implemented a fire restriction, and although It's only a restriction. The district says it could be elevated at any point if conditions don't improve to an all-out fire ban. In Cypress County, fire bans are now in effect for Bull's Head Reservoir Provincial Recreation Area, Cypress Hills Provincial Park, and Michelle Reservoir Provincial Recreation Area. Park Lake Provincial Park, northwest of Lethbridge, had already instituted a fire ban earlier this month. Border Services has announced a major drug seizure at the Coots border crossing in southern Alberta. On July 2nd, officers at the Coots port of entry seized 300 kilograms of suspected methamphetamine and 80 kilograms of suspected cocaine from a commercial truck. The truck originated in California and was destined for Vilna, Alberta, and contained a load that had been declared as bathroom tissue. After noticing abnormalities in the load, officers detected and seized the concealed suspected narcotics from 12 medium-sized moving boxes, a smaller box, and a duffel bag. The driver was arrested by CBSA officers. The driver and the suspected drugs were transferred to the custody of the RCMP Federal Policing Northwest Region. A man's life was saved and 100 outstanding warrants were executed. Lethbridge police might say it's all in a week's work. But this all happened after a targeted drug trafficking investigation this week by police in downtown Lethbridge. On Tuesday, police, along with the Safer Communities and Neighborhoods Task Force, saw what appeared to be a man overdosing in Galt Gardens. The 49-year-old was administered naloxone, regained consciousness, and was transported to hospital. The investigation also led to the arrest of a 55-year-old woman. Police seized fentanyl packaged for street-level sales, other controlled substances, cash, and drug trafficking paraphernalia. Patricia Ann Healy is charged with 2 counts of possession for the purpose of trafficking, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of the proceeds of a crime.
For the impact of the overdose situation, there's the positive feeling that those officers get to feel of bringing a life back, because that's something you can't replace. It's also tied to an arrest of a person who was charged with possession for the purpose of trafficking of fentanyl, and that will be part of their court package that the overdose happened right after she sold to that person. When it comes to what is the measure of success, I would say look across our downtown core. We're in a vastly different place than we were a year or 2 years ago, and I think that is a direct correlation to the staffing that we put into the downtown policing units. We're addressing social disorder behavior, open drug use, those committing thefts on an ongoing basis. I think there's a ton of value in doing these enforcement project days. It sends a message that if you're involved in crime, you need to be looking over your shoulder, because there's a relentless pressure that we're going to put on those involved in crime.
In all, this targeted enforcement led to 26 arrests, 15 criminal charges laid, more than 70 interactions related to open drug use, and more than 60 encampments dismantled, all in a week's work. In a similar story, Lethbridge police made a massive weapons seizure as part of a drug trafficking investigation. On July 15th, Alert, Lethbridge's organized crime team, located the large cache of weapons and drugs inside a Lethbridge home in the 2000 block of 7th Avenue North. The home was linked to suspected drug trafficking activity that was first reported to police in June. In all, police seized 19 rifles, 3 shotguns, 9 replica firearms, 1 pistol, 12 prohibited weapons, 2 body armor vests, 4,700 rounds of ammunition, and approximately 170 knives and edged weapons, including switchblades, swords, collapsible batons, brass knuckles, and even some Freddy Krueger-type claws. Alert also seized about $20,000 worth of drugs. 47-year-old Louise Sansom faces several charges related to drugs and firearms. She already has a lifetime firearms prohibition from a previous conviction. A second suspect, 56-year-old Terry Adamson, has been charged with possession of drugs. Police say members of the public who suspect drug or gang activity in their community can call local police or contact Crime Stoppers at the number on your screen right there. Traffic along the Crow's Nest Highway on Wednesday afternoon was severely disrupted after a multi-vehicle collision shortly after 2 p.m. According to LPS, a 64-year-old man is facing multiple violations and charges after failing to stop at a red light at the intersection on 30th Street North. The man in question was driving a Chevrolet Uplander westbound when it struck a Ford Focus, proceeding through a green light to make an eastbound turn. Our BCN video footage captured a third vehicle, which appeared to also have been impacted in a collision. 2 women who were passengers in the Uplander sustained injuries and were taken to hospital by EMS. 3 more passengers in the Uplander were treated on scene, including 2 children. The 26-year-old driver of the Ford Focus was not injured. The investigation determined that the 64-year-old driver from Carson, Alberta, appeared to be impaired. He was uninsured and was not carrying his driver's license. His identity is being withheld to protect the passenger victims. He is charged with dangerous driving, causing bodily harm, and other violation tickets. He's also been released from custody with conditions and is scheduled to appear in court on September the 9th. Lethbridge residents say they trust their police service and feel safer in their community than they did 2 years ago. A new 2026 survey shows overall satisfaction with the Lethbridge Police Service has reached its highest level in recent years, while perceptions of safety across the city have improved significantly.
The biggest measure of our success and service delivery to the community is the trust of the community in the police service. And when those numbers continuously go up, and with the recent response that we got, it's really satisfying. But also, it's good for our employees to get that recognition for the hard work they do every day to actually bring these results. Nothing is perfect. And certainly, based on the recommendations they have, there's always issues with drug activities and drug use, which is significant. Traffic always is one of the top 3 issues that we have to deal with and put more resources on when we can. And obviously property crime is something that has been trending and continues to be plaguing our business owners and community from that perspective. So those are the 3 main areas that our citizens want us to put more emphasis on. And we have been doing that over the years.
Policing satisfaction is up, safety and security satisfaction is up, perceived professionalism of the LPS is up, community confidence that we have adequate staff is also up. These stats are amazing. I got to tell you, my number one thing, and I'm sure many of my council colleagues will feel the same way, that safety is our top priority. If we know that there's a way to be safer and it's a way that we can adequately resource, then that's what we would do.
Here are some of the highlights from the 2026 community survey. 88% say LPS is meeting expectations for keeping Lethbridge safe. 83% describe Lethbridge as a safe community, up 13 percentage points from 2024. And 22% say Lethbridge has become safer over the past year, while those who believe it has become less safe fell from 31% to 16%. There was some big news in the sporting world Thursday with the FIFA World Cup having just wrapped up. The Union of European Football Associations, also known as UEFA, and its 55 football associations have announced they will boycott future FIFA competitions. This comes after reports that FIFA President Gianni Infantino has plans to sell a stake in World Cup revenue to private investors. Infantino held secret talks in recent months with potential backers in the U.S. about creating the $20 billion FIFA Forward enterprise subsidiary with $4.2 billion of private equity. In a statement, UEFA says the boycott will be in place as long as these proposals remain alive. It will only end when this proposal has been abandoned and in its entirety and binding assurances have been given that FIFA will never again open its governance or competitions to private ownership. FIFA says the plan is optional and would bring billions of dollars into the game. Before we go to break, we always like to end with something positive if we can. This story out of California certainly is. A 16-year-old rookie lifeguard named Ryder Williams rescued a 10-year-old boy from heavy surf at Seabright State Beach in Santa Cruz, California. Summit Ray is the father of the boy who was rescued and couldn't be more thankful.
I cannot even express how grateful I am to Ryder, the lifeguard, the other lifeguard, and even the Good Samaritans that tried to help. I mean, he ran into that water despite those conditions that are deadly. You know, you have 10-foot waves, you have rip tides and currents coming in. It is not safe for him to go into that water, so he's risking his own safety and his own life just to save my child, my little boy, and he did. The leadership he showed in just running into that and the bravery is miraculous, and I'm his biggest fan, and I could not express how grateful I am to him. You know, it's a near-death experience. I mean, look, again, another couple seconds, he wouldn't have survived. And from his perspective, you know, he's in the water, he's drowning, there's no one to help him, he doesn't see help, and he blacks out and he's unconscious. So, you know, he thought he was going to die. I think he's in shock. I think he's a bit, you know, traumatized, understandably. He's a very creative, curious kid that just wants to learn and live his life to the fullest. And because of Ryder and the other people there, he's going to have an opportunity to do that.
Wow, did you see those waves? They were crazy. And Ryder Williams and Summit Ray, I feel like I just watched a Baywatch episode.
Sean Haney here with realagriculture.com. Have you noticed cottage cheese showing up in almost every viral recipe lately? It turns out your high-protein diet is sending clear signals back to the dairy barn. Driven by fitness trends and the rise of GLP-1 weight loss medications, consumer demand for high-protein, low-sugar dairy options is skyrocketing across North America. Historically, the Canadian dairy industry built its component pricing around butterfat, treating protein as a secondary component that needed a home. Now, that dynamic has completely flipped. David Weens, president of Dairy Farmers of Canada, says this surge in protein demand creates a massive new opportunity for producers. While farmers spent the last decade using diet and genetics to boost the butterfat levels, Weens says producers are up to the challenge of shifting focus to increase the protein content of fluid milk, using short-term feed adjustments today and long-term genetic selection down the road. It's really a clear example of how changing consumer habits on the plate directly shape breeding and management decisions on the dairy farm. For Bridge City News, I'm Sean Haney with realagriculture.com.
Loblaw earned $751 million in the second quarter, up from $714 million a year earlier. Revenue at the grocery retailer increased to $15.27 billion as food same-store sales rose 1.6% and drug retail sales gained 4.6%. Pharmacy and healthcare services led growth with a 7.5% increase in same-store sales. Adjusted earnings were 66 cents a share, up from 59 cents in the same quarter of last year. Canada Goose reported a first quarter loss of 93 cents a share, improving from a loss of $1.29 a year earlier. It comes as revenue climbed 10.3% to $108.9 million. Direct-to-consumer sales rose to $84.8 million, while wholesale revenue increased to $29.8 million. CEO Danny Rice said the results show the company's strategy to become a year-round luxury brand is gaining traction. And with that, here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 172 to 35,505. The Dow was up 613 to 52,208. The S&P 500 was up 121 to 7,437, and the Nasdaq was up 679 to 25,122. West Texas Intermediate oil was down 50 cents to 83.96 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 2 cents to 2.74 US. Gold was up 37.40 to 41.0340 US an ounce, and silver was up 138 to 58.99 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $8.16 per bushel. Barley is at $6.31. Canola is at $17.46 and corn is at $7.82 per bushel. Live cattle August contract was up $3.32 to $231.22. Feeder cattle August contract was up $2.20 to $346.47. Lean hogs August contract was down $2.25 to $98.42, and the Canadian dollar was down slightly over the past 24 hours and currently sits at $71.40 US.
Recapping one of today's top stories, WestJet flight attendants are one step closer to a strike. Their union served 72-hour strike notice on Thursday. The airline responded with a 72-hour lockout notice. WestJet says it will communicate with ticket holders in advance of changes or cancellations to their flights. Ahead of the potential strike, the airline has been allowing passengers booked between July 30th and August 4th to make a one-time change or cancellation with no fees. Most of us love the summer months, but summertime also poses some challenges for parents, especially working parents, as they can feel pressure to keep their kids entertained during the long, hot days. But health and wellness coach Rob Jetton says, stop trying to entertain your kids. He's going to join us to share some helpful and practical tips for reducing parental stress while strengthening the family relationship over the summer. That interview is next. Also coming up, did you know Lethbridge had representation at FIFA World Cup? We speak with a local soccer coach who got to officiate from the FIFA field. That inspiring interview is coming up later in our program. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our content and poll questions.